Hey, welcome to my new video series, where I'll be explaining how to win most theoretical chess endgames. In this video, I'll show you how to win with a king and a queen against a king. This video is intended for beginner level players, so you should already know what checkmate is and what stalemate is. Alright, let's begin. In this position, we see that black's king is on the edge of the board, and if we play this move with the queen directly in front of the king, it's going to be checkmate. The queen controls all these green squares, and the king defends the queen, so it cannot be captured. Notice how the king and queen have to work together to checkmate the opponent's king. Alright, let's look at another example. Here we see, as before, queen over here would be checkmate, but we have some more options, like all these other green arrows. And in this example, the queen controls the red squares, and the king controls the blue squares, and the black king is trapped. So notice how the white king is controlling all the escape squares for the black king. Alright, now that we know how to checkmate, let's take a step backwards and look at a case where the black king is on the edge of the board. So if anytime the black king is on the edge of the board, we want to play a move with the queen to cut the king along the edge, just like this. So now the king cannot leave the edge of the board. And then it's pretty simple. You just chase the black king with your own king. And then we're back to the example 1, where you just checkmate in one move. Alright, so now the big question is, how do we push the king towards the edge? The first step is to move your queen somewhere very close to the king, not too close, because you'll just get captured, but somewhere kind of close. So let's say queen c4, and notice now that there's a sort of box created around the black king. So if we just leave the queen here, the king can never cross these red arrows right here. And we can make this box smaller and smaller until the king's on the edge, and then we get back to the previous example. So let's say the king moves over here, we can move the queen closer to the king, and now the box is even smaller. The king moves up one line, we can move our queen up one line, and in this way the box will just get smaller and smaller until the king inevitably goes to the edge, in which we can cut him along the edge right here. And then, as in the previous example, you just chase the king with your own king, and then put your queen in front of the king, and it's checkmate. Alright, so that's basically the technique. Now let's look at a couple of pitfalls that you might encounter. So in this example, moving the queen to one of these red squares right here, these circles, would actually be a mistake. We do want to cut the king along the edge, but this is a little too small of a box because the king cannot move. So a better move would be queen over here, cutting along this edge. And as you can see, the queen controls these squares, and the black king has 2 squares to move through. So in this first example, this would be stalemate, and it would be a draw. Another example of a stalemate trap is this position. So if we move the white king into any of these two squares, it would actually be stalemate because the black king is not in check and he cannot move anywhere. So what instead we should do, of course, just cut the king along the edge, and there's no more stalemate tricks. Alright, that should be it, and now I'm going to play a couple of practice games, and I'll show you how to put these things in practice. So I'm going to play here against the computer. It's mate in 9, but I'm probably not going to actually mate in 9 moves, but I'll just show the easy concept here. So I put my queen close to the king, I made a box. The king moved left, so I can cut off another line by moving over here and chasing the king, making the box smaller and smaller until he has to go to the edge, and then I cut him along the edge and then bring my king in. Alright, and final example. Once again, I'll choose either queen here or here, make a box, and I'll just be chasing the king with my queen, making the box smaller and smaller wherever he lets me. And I could play here, make the box smaller, or I can even start bringing my king in. It's a choice. I can either bring my king in or just make the box smaller. Okay, he's along the edge. I cut him along the edge, and then it's very simple. And any of these would be checkmate. And there you go. Thank you for watching.